The hip hop division in dance team is definitely one of the most popular, however, misunderstood categories of them all. From misconceptions about what identifies the style, to scoring inconsistencies, to keeping the culture of hip hop in the category, I am unpacking it all. I brought in three very well respected hip hop judges from all different circuits: USASF, DTU, Varsity Brands, you name it, they've judged it. And you're going to be very surprised at their takes, and it might even change how you look at this category. I think this is a conversation that the dance world needs to have, and we're having it here on No Counts Given. Dance Team Union regional competitions are unlike any other. DTU has created an atmosphere that is not only friendly and competitive, but brings your community together to support one another in a sport you all share and love. DTU values innovation and the determination to create. Your team spend hours perfecting material and pushing the boundaries for choreography. It does not go unnoticed at Dance Team Union. At DTU, you do not go home empty-handed. They award placements in every division for every routine, select special awards to standout routines, and offer partial paid bids to our Dance Team Union National Championships and All-Star Worlds with their partners at the Open Championship Series. So what are you waiting for? Find out when they will be heading to a city near you for their 10th season by visiting www.danceteamunion.com. Welcome back to another episode of the No Counts Given podcast, the premier podcast for dance and dance team. And I'm your host, Kyle Rush. I was about to skip that. Oops. I'm very excited for this episode. And this interview is very long. So I have a few things that I'm going to say, and then we're going to dive right into it because honestly, I don't want to waste your time any longer to get into this hip hop judges conversation. First thing I'm going to say, you already know it. Like, subscribe, share this video, send it to your friends, rate us on Spotify. Big things are coming for No Counts Given, and I'm very excited. And it's almost competition season. It is my favorite time of the year, and you're going to want to be here for what's to come. So that's all I was going to say. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the things. Before we get into the interview, okay? I love Palm. You guys know that. And stay tuned for next week if you like this episode. Little hint, little hint. I love Palm. But also, I'm a huge, I want to say hip hop fan, hip hop category fan. But it's always been like difficult for me to define like what hip hop really means in the dance team circuit, because it's very different as you see with scores and where people place and what different competition circuits are looking for. And to me, I'm like, hip hop is hip hop. Why are we not just scoring hip hop? So that's just me. On a coach's side, choreographer's side, that's something that has always gone through my mind. So I wanted to bring on three hip hop judges. All three of these judges have once judged one of my hip hop routines. So I definitely wanted to come at this in a coach's lens, but also a choreographer's lens, but then also an educator lens. So then people could really understand what we're looking for in hip hop. So I'm not going to talk any longer. Let's get into the interview. It's a good one. Get your popcorn. Like, comment, subscribe. Okay, here we go. I think in honor of 25 years of Bring It On, it's only obvious that we start with the one and only Tony G.
Cuckoo in the Cabeza. It is 25 years, which is amazing. Well, anyways, I'm Tony G, and I guess I'm hip hop everywhere, but more importantly, I've been with Dance World since the inception in 2007, and I think I'm just one of three still. I mean, there's a lot of us. There's amazing judges everywhere, but I've been there for 18 years judging hip hop. And ICU, I've been doing hip hop on and off for 7 years. And then I mainly do United Spirit Association for their hip hop, and now Stage 8, which is my favorite little place to go.
How can you not? The chairs that you guys sit on when you're judging at stage 8, I'm like, come on, that's like VIP experience.
But it's amazing to judge with so many different judges in general. But I've been around for a minute, so I'm just happy to still be invested in watching it grow. And I'll continue to, as long as they invite me, I'm happy to just be around.
Well, thank you for coming on. Let me pass it to Brandy. Let's go ahead and give a little bit of your background.
I was a member of the LSU Tiger Girls in college, and then I started traveling with my coach Denise and doing choreography. And I've been judging with DTU for 6 seasons now, I think it is. And I absolutely love getting to see that side of it just because I do a lot of choreography and I'm choreographing hip hop for the wide variety from everything from World of Dance to UDA to NDA to DTU, All Star. So just a little bit of all of it. So it's nice to kind of sit on the other side as well and see what's happening.
How's it going? My name is CJ Jacobs. Lover of all things dance, especially hip hop. Love hip hop styles. So this is something near and dear to my heart. When it comes down to competitions, love going everywhere. DTU, also Dance World. So met phenomenal judges from all over the place, and it's honestly like home wherever I go.
Well, thank you guys. I think it's very obvious. Each competition circuit has their own definition of what they want to see as hip hop on the competitive floor. I guess someone for like TJ, you said you do both, I believe DTU, and then you said, Dance Worlds as well too. When you're going into judging these two separate competition circuits, does your mindset change or do you stay pretty consistent with your judging no matter what the circuit is?
You definitely have to be aware of the difference between the two. And you definitely have to debrief and understand what each score sheet is demanding. So it is important to switch your lenses.
Yeah, what would you say is the difference between like Dance Team Union to someone like the USASF Dance Worlds?
I would say they're completely different, but I would say that it's a beauty in each difference within both. So you just have to be aware and mindful when you're judging. You have to, so we are scoring on this. We have to make sure that we're on track.
I want to ask Tony, you've been around, you said since the inception of Dance Worlds. In that time, have you ever found like rubrics or captions restricting to hip hop? Or would you say like they leave enough room for interpretation for teams?
I smile and laugh at that question because that's a heavy question.
Oh yeah.
And since day one, just because I also judge studio dance quite a lot, I'll say it hinders. The rubric and captions, they tend to change from year to year, and they try to advance itself by listening to the customers and listening to the coaches and the choreographers. But I'm just a old-fashioned at heart in the sense of if it's already in the mix and it already makes sense in that mix, then changing it, adding to it, enhancing it, or taking away from it distracts the journey that I believe of whatever the creativity might be. So even as a judge, like TJ said, we adapt to the lens of what has to happen at different events. But I feel that they work so hard on trying to make sure that caption and that rubric is what you have to follow, when the reality is, why not at the end of the day just give a score and and keep it as simple as that, so we don't misconstrue. It's all subject to what we like, you know what I'm saying? And if I say this is what I like off this score sheet and this rubric, it's going to be different from Brandy and TJ, and we could be in the same volume, but that's a sharp question that still needs to be figured out to this day. So I appreciate that question though, because it's something that I get asked all the time.
Yeah. When I talk to a lot of my colleagues, I always hear them talk about how like studio dance is behind in the scene and all-star dance is behind in the scene. Since you judge both of those, would you say that you agree that we're just a little bit behind the curve in terms of like the dance industry?
I would say yes, because the dance industry, it's so weird. Dance industry is dance industry. It's what we all know. I hate to say Beyonce, this, that, and whatever, but we go into that dance volume. It's the world I'm in, the Hollywood world. But I don't understand why the dance competitions that we go to, including Worlds, don't see it like that. We're stuck to a format I was just told yesterday UDA is the Olympics of competitions, but why isn't it not USA or DTU, or do you know what I'm saying, or Stage 8? You can elevate all those people, and I think we're a little bit behind, and not because we want to be. I think it's because the customers are asking for that. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel that they're the ones dictating what needs to be said, and I think that they have to open their creativity and open up their lenses in a different way. I hope that made sense.
No, that was beautiful. That made a ton of sense. Thank you. Brandy, I want to ask you, what would you say? You said you were at LSU. Um, between those years and now, are there any misconceptions that you've noticed that just have continued to grow in the hip hop category?
Um, I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing is I was in the pre-trick era of like aerials weren't legal. It was wild that we were trying to do a full team head spring or head spin. Um, and now that's just I call it like the single pirouette in the jazz division, like is a head spring for hip hop at this point. And it doesn't necessarily add to a routine. It's just kind of starting to be there, just like sometimes in a jazz category, we're talking about, turns just get added because they're on the
Yeah.
score sheet. It's not actually adding to the routine. I feel that way about tricks. I also feel like everyone wants to be memorable. So there's definitely a push to gimmicks, if you will. And I think there's definitely a time and place to be memorable and to utilize those things. But I definitely think it's becoming more and more that versus from like a World of Dance Hip Hop International perspective,
Hmm.
truly bringing hip hop to the stage and bringing different styles and different genres of hip hop to the stage and really bringing that to the
Yeah.
competition dance world, if you will.
Yeah, that I was talking to someone yesterday, and it's funny because I think back to like 9 years ago when I was coaching, and the biggest mindset that I had was like, we need a full team head spring. We need
Yeah.
one. We cannot win without a full team head spring. That was like the wow moment. When it comes to hip hop, what would you say? And I guess this is for anyone to answer, what would you say really pulls your eye in terms of wow moments? Is it like the movement execution or the creativity and formations and visuals? Like, what would you say pulls your eye for like, wow, that was great. That's the memorable moment right there.
For me, it's really just being present within the music and really just bringing the music to life and having fun on stage. It makes me as a judge memorable and well, just really getting engaged with the performance, using your musicality to your advantage if you're doing tricks or anything, making sure that it's on purpose. Like for me, that's what gets me excited when I'm watching a routine.
I feel like that's a pretty big question, I think, because a lot of people really try and get those wow moments. I would love to hear it from the judges themselves. What is pulling you for that wow moment?
Well, I would say for me, I'm old school, and it doesn't have to have it. But if we really go all the way back to ask what the definition of hip hop and dance is, it's popping, locking, and breaking.
Mm,
And although it's not everything that everyone can do, I just feel that if you give back a little bit to the nostalgia of it all, and then the entertainment factor comes into play. Tricks are tricks. Just like Brandy said, tricks are for kids. I'm not saying that as a mean thing. I'm saying it as a kind of a sarcastic way of, if you want to do it, I want to make sure that they understand that it's not really elevating anything. It's just another part of your journey in the construction. But what is that construction speaking, and what is it saying? And I wanted to say something to Brandy when she said that she wasn't in the time where there were head springs, and all I can remember is that for me, everybody wanted to do some kind of trick. It didn't matter what the trick was; it was going. And I, being older now, I just want everyone to know: come be number one for you. Not
mm.
you don't know what you're competing against, so come be number one. Show up as number one for you, and then compete and compete with the people there, and then know that you're competing. They worked hard to get there too, and if that means tricks or the single, I think I'm going to bite that. I like that you said the head spring is the single, but for me, I look at it. I look at judging completely different because ICU judges completely different than dance worlds, the way that you have to see it. So now I'm looking at. I hate when people say this to me because they said I didn't catch it all, but I'm looking for that wow factor in the whole package. Just what is the package telling me from beginning to end, and then I can, with the captions, describe what I need to tell you from
Mm.
the rest. So
What in what ways would you say like USASF Dance Worlds and ICU like really differ from like hip hop on the scoring aspect? Like what is it that ICU is looking for that maybe USASF isn't looking for?
Well, I think they're both are looking for the authenticity of it all. But ICU tends to just deal with 10 captions, 10, 10, 10, all the way down. And it's absolutely amazing. You don't have to look at USASF and have 15 out of this, 20 out of that, 10 out of this, because you're giving more points to something that in reality, if it's all done right, you're just on a 10. I mean, at least in my eyes. And then the difference for me in the hip hop of it all is that also being authentic and being creative and being real when you come out there. I'm going to change subject for a quick second. I just judged something yesterday, and these 8 wonderful black young ladies, ages 12 to 14, came out, and they were on fire with choreography from top to bottom. They stayed in one place the whole entire time. They
Oh,
did tricks. They never changed. They just did everything in one place. They were giving you hip hop, 100%. But then everybody else gave you the categories and the captions, if
yeah,
that makes sense. And
yeah.
and they were devastated when they didn't win. But I remember them the best because they gave you the authentic hip hop. And I wanted them to remember that everywhere you go, it's a little bit different. But if you don't see how to open up your neighborhood to knowing where you're going to, because it might be good for the neighborhood and the place that you're from, but it might not work well for where you're going to compete at. And people need to be, that's why I say bring your number one. People need to know that it's different everywhere you go. It cannot be the same every time you think so.
Yeah, that really wants me to go into like the execution part of the score sheet. I think I find a lot when I'm like consulting or doing choreography that I see a lot of kids struggle with like the hip hop authenticity of execution, staying grounded, using your entire body, or like using the different sections of hip hop. So, how do you evaluate like body control, textures versus just sharp and clean?
I think DTU is actually trying to implement this quite a bit. TJ, you can tell me if you agree or not, but I definitely think they're trying to push towards this and trying to push people to try different styles, to try different textures, to try to find, they're calling it movement quality, but because you have so many teams that sometimes just try to do hard hitting or a dance team version of crumping, if you will, um, that it doesn't always read with every song. And especially now we're seeing
Mm,
teams sometimes doing a groovier song or more of an R&B song, and that's not going to match style wise. So in order to bring an appropriate hip hop style with said music selection, I think it's pushing teams to actually dive into exactly what you're talking about and find new movement quality, find ways to still be clean and execute, but still have that groove and a little bit more flow to their movement versus the stop and go that sometimes we're seeing in dance team.
yeah. Do you want to add to that, TJ?
Yeah, so DTU, we're actually encouraged not to judge based on cleanliness, just approaching the hip hop style just as authentic, raw as it is. So that's something that they do prefer when judging.
I hear it all the time. Is there's styles in hip hop that aren't meant to be clean to the T. Like it's meant to be a little bit, I say gritty or like nasty, where it's just kind of off a bit, but it fits in the vibe of hip hop. Can you kind of like dive into that a little bit more? Like what do judges really mean by that? Or like what styles might that be that fit into that not so clean?
Well, I can speak on what I've seen is just sometimes, especially within house styles, you know, you have your jack, you have your heel toe jack, you have a lot of different elements. But what happens sometimes is that the choreography is just clean so much that you clean the groove out of it, and it just loses that heartbeat. And
Mm,
I can't speak on exactly what judges are saying, but I know for me, what I see sometimes is that, you know, it's difficult, it's tough, but that's when also the relationship between the choreographer and the coach comes in, where it's like, listen, this is how you should be doing that movement. This is how you should be doing this locking section, to where it's not losing its authenticity, you know, but that I can
yeah,
speak on.
absolutely. I I can't wait to clip that and send that to my choreography clients alone and be like, see, listen, I'm telling you. Okay, so Brandy, you just mentioned something that I've always wondered a lot in my head, and I'm curious of your guys' take. There are times, I mean, the whole one song trend is now like on the rise, where teams are like usually just doing one song or a mashup mix of this one song. And I feel like recently I've been seeing a lot of hip hop routines that aren't necessarily using an authentic hip hop or rap song. It could be something completely different that's mashed up and then sounds a little bit more hip hop. Would you say that takes away from really um, authentically executing hip hop to a song that's not really hip hop?
I mean, I'm going to say two things. TJ said something because suitability is everything. And Kyle, you brought up something. I'm going to tell you, for me personally, even though we're supposed to score on it in certain ways, if someone is giving me skank, if someone's giving me swag, if someone's giving me like drop dead, whatever it is, if they're giving me contempt of funk or lyra funk, I don't really care what it is. I put ography on anything. You want to give me tableography, you give me tableography. But you need to be down and dirty, and it needs to make sense. I love that. That allows them to find different avenues and textures in the way they deliver their groove or their vibe or their musical interpretation, whatever it might be, with choreography or movement proficiency that might come into it. But going to one song, um, I would say, for me, if you're going to deliver one song, then you have to know that musicality, that phrasing, that lyricography to a T, so that we can feel that it's been infused in you. What happens is you take a song from beginning to end, and they don't understand the rhythms or the changes or the reason why their body or directional change or weight changes are happening, because they're just dancing. I was told today, and this is not even a joke, and I have no problem with it as a choreographer. I hear this on any song you give me. I don't even care if there's a groove. I don't even care if it's slow, whatever. I hear this. And I hear that because that's how I have to teach out here. But if I'm going to work with a team or an LSU like Brandy, I have to hear the music so that I can see them be the orchestra for me delivering the goods. So that song has to play to the whole creativity and the journey. If not, then it's just really you finding a song just to throw some steps to it so that we can give you a score that you're unhappy with at the end of the day. And then you're wondering why you're not where you're supposed to be. If, again, that's what I see in my head and my mind.
Yeah. Does anyone want to add on to it? Go ahead, TJ.
So also with that too, because it's also, Gen Z Alpha, or it's the next generation, they also too have to understand what the vibe is. If it's T-Pain in the club, like the kids have to know what that means, what the essence of that song is giving, because sometimes it doesn't read because it's a dead translation. So they have to understand what the vibe is. It's a club vibe. We should be having fun on stage. We should be doing all these things. So it's also homework, that the students and dancers have to do.
Yeah. So I am curious, at each of the events that you guys are judging, or maybe some do or some don't, do you typically have like a head judge that's overseeing all of the scores be put in and challenging you if needed? Does that happen at any of your guys' events?
It happens at all the events.
Okay.
At
Okay.
least, at least the ones for me.
Okay.
They're there not to tell us how to judge. They're there just to make sure that we are being true to who we are, and not. If I was sitting between Brandy and TJ, even if we were discussing, that we're not swayed by anyone's opinion, and that we're judging what we see on the floor, and they're checking with us. They're checking our scores. They're just making sure that we are within a range that makes sense and that we're not disrespecting in any way, shape, or form. Not that we would, but just making sure that we are on the same page all across the board.
Yeah. That reason why I want to ask is I noticed this trend happen a lot last season, mainly in the hip hop category. I remember looking back, I'm not going to say event names or teams, but I remember looking back at January, and I was looking over scores, and I was just taking note. I was getting ready to do my coverage. And then I looked at the next week's competitions, same thing, looking at scores. And I was actually very blown away at the scoring inconsistencies that were happening. Um, one week there was a team that scored like an 86. Great score, great place to be at start of your season. But then I looked at the competition they attended the week before that, and they were scoring 92, 93. How could that possibly happen at a competition um, with these hip hop judges if we're really looking at the captions, right? Or would you say that's playing like a little bit more in the biases when it comes to judging and choreography and musicality and how you interpret the routine? But if anyone wants to add in to that, please,
I would
please do.
I would dare to say some of that. You're saying it was different events or different competitions. Is
I'm gonna cut this part out, but it was too. I like my relationships, okay? Dance Team Union is a proud sponsor of the No Counts Given podcast, and we have some exciting news to share. Starting next month, DTU will be launching their annual college Instagram flight contest powered by Spirit Airlines to provide an opportunity to earn funding towards your nationals travel. DTU's motto, "We're here for you," continues to drive their commitment to supporting teams. Even if you're unsure whether you will attend the College Classic National Championships in 2026, we still encourage you to participate in the DTU flight contest. And in celebration of 10 seasons of Dance Team Union, they will award unique entries with special prizes throughout the contest, ranging in value from $200 to $1,000. To learn more about how to participate and earn funding towards your team, head over to www.thecollegeclassic.com for more information. Uncut, going back into the podcast, but that's
yeah.
going to be cut out.
I do think part of that has to do with the teams that are there that day. And as a judge, even I know whenever you're judging, like say you're put on small hip hop and then you're put on large hip hop later, I know sometimes as you're judging, maybe a team does really well. So you start kind of high for the day, and then another team comes out and just completely kills it. I mean, it's one of the most memorable routines you've ever seen. So now you have to go up even higher. And so it just, sometimes it depends on the order the teams win in, or who they're going against, or how the panel is judging that day. Maybe they had their coffee already, so they're really happy, so they're being a little bit nicer. I mean, honestly, anything can come to that. I tell clients all the time from a choreography side, like you can't put so much weight on the actual score, because I have a lot of teams that their goal is to beat their score from the year before.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I think that's a great goal in theory, but in reality, a lot of times there's just so many different factors that play into what the scores are going to look like that day, that putting so much weight on an exact score is really hard.
You also have different panels, especially when it comes down to like regionals. You know, you might have someone who has never seen the routine before, or you might have someone who's seen it every time. So there's so many different other variables, and also, you know, this is subjective anyway. Anyways, it's each person's opinion, and you're bringing a lot of different other judges from all across the nation into different sections. So, to answer your question, I think it also depends on who, when, what, and why was going on.
All the things.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to say that, I'm going to use the word bias. And it is that, yes, there's different judges and there's different panels. I really do believe that each one of us who judge come ready to do whatever's asked of us from whatever producer or event is asking us to judge. But why they also have us there is for the eye of what we see, what we like, what we might be interested in. What I do want people to be careful about, including myself, even though I feel just because I'm old, I judge what I see on the floor, they leave, I don't talk, and I just see the next. Where I feel a lot of people hold on to, do you remember that one? Do you remember? And I have a tendency to not remember the team. I mean, if I like them, yes, because I'm already on to the next team, if that makes sense. But I also have judges next to me who they'll cover their scores to not see. And even if we were told, can you be within 4 or 5 with each other, they're like not wanting to share. And age is not the issue, but age is an issue if you're not fully vetted in understanding how to come in and judge without judging, saying, I like what Brandy did in her choreography. And I think TJ has the groove, but he's not as cool. And I'm judging that in my head when I'm scoring, when I should just be scoring the captions.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. No, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say that on the last note is, I believe we all have like 10% of that inside of us. Some, unfortunately, might have a little bit more in there, but we should be judging exactly what we got hired for and what we're ready to do for that event, for that producer, for that organization. But that doesn't mean it doesn't mean that we don't see something that we like. I mean, I saw Willy Wonka. You guys probably wouldn't know this. This is like maybe, gosh, I'm going all the way back, maybe 12 years ago. They came from the East Coast. It was Willy Wonka routine. I have never given a 99.5 out of 100. And I cannot get that routine out of my head if you were ever to look it up. But they came, they conquered, they did it, they story told, they did everything. And I still walk around going, does anyone know Willy Wonka? And they're all like, calm down. It's 2025. But I think I scored them so high because I felt happy for them, and I felt something that, I judged them that way, but I also judged them with the captions. They weren't as big then, but I know I gave them because I said, damn, that was great, and it was good for me. So I recall that because I did do that. Do you know what I'm saying? And I want to be honest about it, where some people will go, oh no, I never did that. I'm like, come on.
Would you say that talking to your judges panel, do you find that to be helpful? Do you find like maybe we don't need to have much conversation on the panel? It could be in terms of scoring or in terms of like, I just want to compare to see like.
I quickly wanted to say, if I was judging next to these two, if they said anything to me, or if I said to them, I am a learner, I absorb. I want to hear because I might not have saw it. I might not have been a part of it. I might have missed something or whatever. So I don't want to take information that's going to make me change what I'm doing, but I want to take what Brandy has to say because she saw something different than I did. I shouldn't be like fighting her, complaining and saying I didn't do that, because we shouldn't have that much time in between while we're judging. But I do want to hear from a TJ or a Kyle or a Brandy or a Tony without somebody covering or saying I can't talk to you. I mean, we're there all day, so let's have a little bit of fun.
I see this quite a bit, and actually a music producer that I work with to edit my music, he put out a notice this year that he's not editing any Chris Brown, no Kanye West, all of the controversial artists that are out there. We're not putting them in our mixes with him. He won't do it. Do judges find that, like, does that ever leave like a weird ick in your mouth if a team's dancing to a Kanye mix or a Chris Brown or someone that's controversial? Or is it like, nope, this is what they're giving us, this is what we're going to score?
No, me personally, I don't.
I think as a judge, it's hard to judge on that. I think you have to let that go, because not that it's okay by any means, but I think you have to let it go in the sense of these dancers or kids, students, college kids that are on the stage, 99.999% of the time did not choose this. Like, taking what they've worked so hard away from them just because you disagree with a choice that they didn't even make, I don't think is fair to them. If they're going out there and they're putting their hard work on the floor, they've done everything they could possibly do, because ultimately that pretty sure wasn't their decision. So I think we, as coaches and as choreographers, we should be aware of what we're choosing, but I don't think as a judge, that's a judge's place.
Well, I'm going to say if that's on a score sheet and someone says I have to listen to a song and make a decision, I shouldn't be judging for that organization at all. Because look, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, and I hear it all the time from many people that I love her music and I think there's some things, but I guess I'm not a Swiftie. So if a Swiftie whole medley came out, am I going to deduct because I didn't enjoy the song? If they brought the gas and they brought the flavor, I don't really care what mix you got going on. I mean, as long as there's no cussing in it.
Yeah. Oh, I hope not. Family friendly.
And also like as long as it's appropriate, because some songs,
Yes.
it's definitely like it's really tiptoeing the line, and I'm like, also depending on the division or the age, but definitely being aware of what the content is and making sure that it's suitable.
Well, really quick, I don't know, on TikTok there's a Brazilian song right now that's viral, and the beat, like I told you, I hear this, the beat is fire, but if you learn what the words are, I'm just I'm just letting everybody know right now that when I found out what the words were,
So, okay, that leads me to a question then. Let's say Worlds 2026 comes around and you hear that beat, you hear those lyrics. Is there anywhere in you where it's like, okay, I just have to take a little bit off of overall impression, or I'm gonna make a note of this, or do you give any awareness to the team to let them know, maybe we shouldn't be doing this?
I would have a note and say something. In Japan, I just judged again, and they have no clue. Sometimes these songs come on, they're dancing hip hop, and it says MNF for da 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 da, my D this, and they're like smiling away, having a good time, and we have to deduct. And then when we tell them, they have no clue that the song says that because they just picked the beat. So I would take a note, hoping that somebody researched a little bit. I mean, I would never have known if this TikTok didn't. Portuguese Brazilian started saying, "Quit dancing to this if you don't know what it says." And the minute we found out what it said, I was like, "Whoa, okay, I'm not cool dancing to that because it really is pornographic and all." And so
Wow.
I would take a note and I would say something about it to safety and everybody else.
Earlier in the beginning of the interview, we were talking about the gap. There's a pretty big gap in the dance team and authentic hip hop community. I'm just mainly talking competitive dance team and then like the authentic hip hop community, IDL, Hip Hop International, World of Dance. Like, what gaps do we see in between the two?
Um, I have a good example of this is I actually years ago worked with a Chicago public school team on the South Side, and they were some of the best hip hop dancers I have ever gotten the privilege to work with. Loved working with them. Um, but even in like a state circuit, they wouldn't do well just from the perspective of in Illinois, everything goes against everything. So jazz goes against hip hop, goes against pom. It's very
Mm,
interesting, different conversation. Um,
Star
but
Search.
yeah.
but also it's interesting because it just was a huge highlight on the fact that there's these really talented dancers. And Tony, I think you mentioned this, but not having the resources to know the score sheet, not having the resources to have the knowledge or the amount of people coming in to consult and whatever needs to happen. They don't have that. And so then there's that lack of translation from teams that have the training and the background and understand the true roots of hip hop. They're not the ones that are necessarily then making it to nationals a lot of times or to these big events. And so then it's interesting because some of the teams that are making it, you have a bunch of studio kids who have trained, and I definitely think there's a bridging the gap happening by some of the teachers that are coming in, some of the training that's taking place. But I just don't think the gap is filled because I think there's a huge gap as far as the cost and also just
Mm,
where the knowledge is available and where it isn't available.
I would also say, because I've worked with students literally down the street. I live in Manhattan, New York, but Bronx, New York, very talented kids right down the street from where hip hop was founded. And within their backyard, they didn't even know the power of where hip hop was founded. And so you have these little kids who are talented. They're doing flips. They're doing all these things. But it's also important as judges. We're also encouraging, and those teams that we know don't really necessarily have the resources when it comes down to the score sheet. We are encouraging them and letting them know, hey, like, I see what you're doing with this. I see where you're going. Keep like you need to think about these formations. Think about this. How can you blend all of these things together? But yeah, I think that it's important to educate, encourage, and letting them know that they're welcome. Like there's a place for you here. It might not be hitting the score sheet like you think you are, but keep going at it. Find what makes you you. You don't have to adapt to what you feel is winning. Keep doing what makes you you. You have styles. You have so many great things. Hone in on it, train in it, and knock it out the park next year or at the end of the season. Keep
absolutely.
going.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Uh,
Brandy and TJ brought two fabulous different ways of looking at it, which is really the way that when there's no resources, what else can you do? If you're not understanding what's next, and the power of that score sheet that I want to say as a judge is it's misleading to those that might not have it yet and don't understand it. And why I say it's misleading is because if I did everything that that score sheet said, and the choreographer worked on it, the advisor, the coaches all came together and we followed every aspect of it, and then we got 10th place, and then we come back and say, but we followed the guideline. What did we do wrong? People forget that when you're following rules and you don't have the way to investigate what's hot today, last, whatever, is you need to be true to who you guys are, to the process, and not the sheet. The sheet is what we judge you on. It's not what you brought to the table, because if you brought the sheet to us, TJ, Brandy, and I are going to judge it a little bit differently of what we see with our own eyes. And you need to come with whatever construction and creativity to either enhanced or amplified, or you elaborated whatever that was, or you fell to the trap that usually everybody else does, is that I did what the score sheet was, but you gave into the score sheet. You didn't use all your resources to see that you have more to give and come up and be your number one.
I think people also tend to forget. This is just me throwing my own opinion. People forget that hip hop is another dance genre, and you have to learn to grow and adapt to the style, and that takes time. I have choreography clients that I've started working with like 3 years ago, and after our first year, they would start to go back to their old ways and put in the sharp, clean, missing the musicality. And it took time for them to like really understand, like, oh shoot, okay, this is how I'm moving my spine. This is what he means by staying grounded, adding footwork. And it's like going into your first ballet class. You're not going to learn the crazy second turns in the first day. You got to work your way to get there. What advice would you give to coaches who want to better honor the culture of hip hop in their routines?
Do research, and give knowledge to your team. Don't just say we're going to compete in the hip hop category and not actually teach them. Even if you don't have a vast knowledge, even just teaching them a little of what hip hop is, or showing them some of the iconic people like the Electric Boogaloos or things like that, just so like they know what they're trying to emulate and what they're trying to like actually work towards. Because I think a lot of times it's thought of as like the fun category to enter. And yep. I think there's so much more to the culture and to the foundations of it. It would be like if you thought ballet category, to your point, was the fun category, and you had a bunch of people in point shoes that had never taken ballet one going on the stage. Just bringing that gap a little bit closer. And again, every team is not going to walk out there with all the knowledge in the world. That's just not necessarily realistic. But as a coach or as an educator, trying to give them little tidbits here and there. And I know there's a lot to be done in a choreo weekend or throughout a season, but even if it's just a little knowledge here, a little knowledge there thrown in, I think a little knowledge goes a long way over time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm big on education, big on dance history. You should know the elements of hip hop. You should, even if you're not using it, you should know what locking is. You should know the difference between locking and whacking. You should know all of these things. Crumping, because if this movement is this, you're not just training your dancers for that season. You're training them for beyond that season. You know, like say they go on an audition 3 years from now, and they're looking for someone who can do a house section. You know, like if you're bringing outside dancers who are from the community who can help pour into your space, you're adding so much value to that dancer, not just with the knowledge, but now they understand dance in a whole nother way, because they're getting that actual real experience from real hip hop dancers who are from your community, who can teach you locking, you're able to decipher what is what, and that also is making you even more valuable in the world of dance.
You know, history and research, which are the most valuable things that anybody can start to do for their teams, and not have a team of 12 and an 8 that understand you and 4 are your fillers, and they're going to learn as we do this for 6 months or whatever. As an old school choreographer, I used to come in and choreograph and change the choreography every time I came in. to challenge their mind and to allow them to understand what a different vibe or feel is. But I also teach now as best as I can, because I don't have the answers, but I do what I can for me, what a pocket is, what a groove is, why we say flavor, what is a vibe, what is texture. If you can teach somehow, some way for them to understand that, not showing the details, because if they see the details that I do, they're going to misinterpret it their way because their body doesn't know how to do that yet. So they have to understand what some of the things are. I get told all the time from quality of, you like to say vibe, flavor, ography, bite. You say all these different words that, and I go, but I don't want to be the judge that says elongate through your shoulder from the elbow to your fingertips when you're sitting in that pocket, because that's not me telling them hip hop. I'm not living, I'm giving them what their coach and choreographer should have gave them. But for me, as I'm judging, I'd like to judge you in the world of hip hop. And, and that's why you always you'll hear it all the time. And every coach and choreographer will say, so what do you want us to be? Sloppy? So we were clean and sharp. What's the problem? Now you don't like it. But guess what? If clean and sharp has a groove and you're sitting in those moments to allow us to enjoy what you're delivering, I'm okay with that cleanness. But if you're just clean and you're just sharp and you're just getting through these pictures, I can put some pom-poms in your hand and let's go. What are we working on? But the research that Brandy said, the history that TJ said, people forget that that's important. And it's such a foundational thing to teach. And if you have time to teach it, you got to teach it. I'm going to say in Australia, when I'm judging, they want to be us. They want to be Brandy. They want to be TJ. They want to be Kyle. They want to be Tony. And I have to ask them, but who are you? Who are you that you can show me before you want to be one of us? What does Australia have to bring to the hip hop floor instead of saying you want to look like the Western culture? And when I say vibe and flavor, they look at me like I'm not sure what that is. So I'm going to stick to research and history and learning what some of the lingo is, so you can pass it on to the people that are about to perform.
For sure. That was great. I'm running out of time, so I have only like 2 questions left for you guys. Well, Tony G, you just shared with us Willy Wonka. If you have another one, please feel free, add it in. But can you tell me some dance team routines that you think really set the standard for hip hop in our dance team world?
I'm going Jabberwockies always.
Have you ever
Everything.
seen them in Vegas?
I have
They're
not,
amazing.
but I have taken class from feet, and I I
I
just
love feet.
respect them. Yes, I respect them so much. I also think that they brought something so unique with like the fact that they wear the mask and everything, so you never know
Mhm.
who's performing that day out of their crew. And I just think that's something really neat and unique that they brought and made it so much fun. And it was something new and fresh, but also it really stayed true to the elements of hip hop and brought true hip hop to the floor. I remember when, I forget who it even was, but did the head spin forever on ABDC, which rest in
Yeah,
peace. I wish that show would come back. But
agreed.
it was super iconic, and they're definitely my selection.
Absolutely.
I definitely would say royal family, but only because how they started. Mainly because they found their formula and they found what made them unique. They weren't trying to do breakdancing and all of these things. They include whacking, they included locking, and they just found what made them unique, what made them them. And then now so many people are like, just recreating what found them unique. So
Yeah, I have to add on to this. Did you see Royal Family's International Dance League performance? Okay. When you have an opportunity, go to my TikTok. I posted it. Read the comments. They're going to drive you insane.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Just want to throw that out there. How about you, Tony G? Do you have another one you want to add?
Yeah, I'm going to add, because Brandy brought up ABDC, and I'm a little bit out there, so I'm a big fan of Fanny Pack,
Oh
Yes.
and
yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
so Fanny Pack to me brought the outside norm to what I like to say, and I say it all the time: lyra funk, contempta funk, jazza funk, whatever it is. People would say that's not hip hop, but it was very engaging. It was
Mm.
very intricate. It was isolated movements. It was storytelling, and it was very I don't like to use the word, but I'm going to say it's very gag. You know, they make you gag. I like to say the best thing is that Betty Crocker put you in the mix. I'm all like, you know, you had all the ingredients, and I can make a pie out of this or a cake, you know, of where it goes. But fanny pack was something that made me think of how I was going to watch when I was judging. It opened up my eyes to say, you know what, I don't need to be and see all that kind of stuff. How can I see it be a little bit differently? I do get yelled at though, saying that, oh, you still look at jazzy. They're too jazzy. They're too. You're just mad because they look good.
Oh.
You know,
Hmm.
so that's where I have to say to people. But Kyle, I want to say something before your last question, and I
Yeah.
want to make sure I get this out because I get asked this over and over and over again, and it is formations
Oh, yes.
and use of stage. Is that if you want to come out and give us the template of what a use of stage is, then under staging, you've already lost me.
Mm.
You know, open up a geometric, a math book and look at different shapes that you can create and come downstage, upstage, corner of the pocket, whatever it is. But if you live linear and you live right in the middle, and just because you move here and there, you're not doing anything for your routine for me. And when I score in that, and everyone's all, oh, everyone gave them like an 8-9 and you gave a 7-2. Well, I gave them a 7-2 because that's what I saw. That's what I felt. I can't match someone at an 8-9 if I don't believe that caption was filled. And that's where that judge that walks back and forth, that head judge, has to come in and kind of weigh into what we're seeing, because I don't want to get lost from the wow factor. I want to know, did they cover the stage? And I just wanted to spit that out because I just got asked yesterday, what do I think about staging? And I said, you better use it.
Yeah, that's actually a great point to add on to because I personally feel like staging could really make or break a routine. Um, what like trends do you see, or what are some things that you might want to give pointers to coaches or choreographers? I feel like this is a great time of this episode. We're like peak choreography season. As we're getting into building these routines, what are we looking for in staging? Are we looking for groups? Are we looking for layering? Like what really is it that's going to get you that, let's say, 8-9, 9-1 range in that caption?
I think it's like
Well,
Tony said.
go ahead. Go ahead, Brandy. You
I
go.
think it's like Tony said. I think it's about being innovative and being creative with it. It's less about there's a specific formula that works, but it has to make sense, to TJ's point with the musicality. If the musicality says, okay, there's 3 beats and I'm going to utilize those in a ripple, putting them in 3 diags or putting them in 3 different grouping. Like there's many ways you could read that, but it's looking at what your musicality is, what you're wanting the visual effect to be, and using that appropriately while being innovative and shifting different shapes and formations throughout it to make it visually appealing.
Also, not running, not feeling like you have to rush to get to the next spot, and you're just like, like it should flow
Yep.
naturally.
That tuck and go,
Uh-huh.
the tuck and go, the grab and go. I don't know who told people that was amazing. Or some people hold on to like their shirt, like it's
Yep.
something to, like if we're all doing the same move and I'm gonna hold on my shirt, you're not gonna notice that for an 8 count and a half, I just moved around. I'm like, okay, see what's going on, but
Yeah, curse of the shopping carts. No one loves to do them, but sometimes somehow they're. I feel like this conversation of the shopping carts and ninja runs have been in for so long. I'm like, why do I still see this? Why are we still running? Okay, final question. Big question. Where would you like to see the hip hop category grow into in the next, let's say, 5 years?
I would love to see some teams try more styles, but I also, a couple of things have been said that really stuck with me is, I know Tony mentioned, like, I wish there just wasn't even a score sheet. I wish it was kind of like I give a score based on what I'm seeing. And I think that would be really interesting to see how teams spell, kind of from a DTU battle perspective of like,
Mm,
okay, just rank them. Um,
yep.
I also, I know I just talked about ABDC, but I would almost even love to see on some level teams have challenges like that of like, okay, you have one night to make up a routine and it only has to be a minute long, but it has to be like the fanny pack. I'll never forget the prom night one they did. Like something out of the
Mm-hmm.
box. Here you go. Here's your prompt. Because I also think that would showcase a different side of maybe what's happening at rehearsals, and it would be less rehearsed and less cleanliness, but it would be more authentic and organic.
Absolutely. How about you, TJ?
So one of my favorite quotes is, when you love something, it starts to reveal itself to you. So when it comes down to falling in love with dance, falling in love with hip hop, allowing the dancers to really dive into these styles, because you have one dancer who might be good at popping, one dancer who might be good at Vogue, one dancer who might be, you have all these different styles that your team has. It's, for me, it will be beautiful to see all of those styles welcomed, all of those styles being explored, all the in ways that each dancer can evolve each year within all of these different styles, all of their strong suits, all their individuality, embracing it and really putting and pushing hip hop within dance team to the next level.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't agree more. And how about you, Tony?
Mine are, we'll go back to scoring. I'd like to see it evolve in the scoring, and maybe there's a process where we are computer on one and then we're vocal on the other, and then the last, when you see them, is a score. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not, you've helped them get to where they had to get to. Or I would even pull from maybe ABDC, because I do, as a non-choreographer now, I get called to places, especially studios, to watch all of their routines. And there's 3 judges, and we have a minute just to tell them what we would like to see them change or add or not. And we say it on a mic and they go on. So there's many ways that I would love to see in the next 5 years, the way they ramp up, how to follow the growth of hip hop, the style of hip hop, but also how to make us smarter judges for them. Because on World of Dance, if I'm judging, if us 4 were judging, we would be so elaborate and seeing so much. But then the groovy guy next to me, no name, will go, "That was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope. I give you a 99." And he has nothing else to say. And you're like, what's going on with that? And also, I would hope in the next 5 years to do is that people don't see it as the fun category, and people don't see it as the I'm just going to put our team here because they're not turners, they don't know how to work a palm, they're not a kick line, they're not lyrical, so we're just going to put them in hip hop. Because if you're really going to compete in hip hop, come prepared to battle. The key word is battle, and the competition is there, but you are battling against what should be crews. Instead, they're dance teams. So look at it differently, approach it differently, and just bring that to the growth of what hip hop should always be from the get-go. And I'm saying that on my opinion, not taking away from anybody else's, but I just feel that I still have so much to learn and grow with that I want to see these changes as much as anybody else does.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for taking time out of your evening. TJ, I didn't know you were all the way out on the East Coast, so it's like, what, 10 o'clock right now?
Yeah, I
So
mean it's fine.
I appreciate you staying up late and coming on. I value each of what every one of you guys said. There has been a time where each and every one of you has judged one of my own hip hop routines. So it's nice to be like on this side where I don't have to worry about teams anymore and just get to talk about dance team and hip hop. So I just want to say thank you guys. Tony G, Brandy Tucker, and TJ Jacobs. Thank you for coming on the No Counts Given podcast. I gave you my thanks yesterday, but I'm going to say it again. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I value your voice and what you have to share with the dance team community. As a hip hop category in the hip hop divisions everywhere constantly grows and change, and we see these trends, I think it's very easy for teams to get in their head about what judges are looking for. So I just wanted to bring this opportunity for everyone to hear this is what judges are looking for. Okay? Okay? That's it. All right, if you haven't, like this video, comment, subscribe, do all of the fun stuff. And I'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your Thursday or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day you're watching this. Bye.